Kimberly Underwood, Kimberly Underwood.
And where are you employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department.
And what do you do for the City of Atlanta Police Department?
I'm actually a recaptured employee, meaning that I retired after 31 years of service. And they called me back, or they let me come back as a contractor with the gang unit because I spent the majority of my career in the gang unit.
Okay. And how long have you been back under the recapture program?
I'm in my second year, so almost 2 years.
All right. And tell the jury a little about what you do now, back in the recapture program, and then when you were at APD before retirement.
Okay, now they brought me back because I'm a senior investigator, I'm an instructor. They wanted me to really kind of mentor the younger investigators. I also teach at the police academy, so the recruits have to take a 4-hour class from me before they hit the streets about gang identification, gang awareness, gang investigations, and so forth. I also assist background and recruitment. We have to screen our applicants because we do have gang members that try to get employment, try to infiltrate the Atlanta Police Department. So I assist with the screening of them. Whenever an investigator have like a warrant or paperwork that they're not sure about, they'll bring it to me and I can proofread it or kind of help them with their cases. Before that, like I said, I spent 14 years before I retired in the gang unit. Prior to that, I was in licensing permits as an investigator. I was Zone 3 CID as an investigator. I did most of my career in Zone 3, so I've had, like I said, 31 years of experience with the police department.
Okay. And do you hold any degrees or certifications pertaining to law enforcement?
Yes, I have a degree from Columbia Southern University in criminal justice administration. I got my associates in criminal justice from Georgia Military College. I have over 2,000 hours in law enforcement training, and I still go to training even though I'm retired. I have over 1,000 hours, maybe hundreds of hours in gang training because even though I'm retired, I still go to trainings and meetings and stuff like that to stay up on the gang trends.
And are you a member of any law enforcement organizations?
Yes, I'm a member of Georgia Investigators Association, Georgia Gang Investigation Association.
Is that short, GGIA?
Yes.
And you spoke briefly about presentations. Have you ever made presentations on law enforcement topics to any professional organizations?
Yes. Back when I first started teaching, which was back in 2011, I used to do a lot of the Atlanta Public Schools because I was a resource officer as well at Atlanta Public Schools. So I would teach the administrators on what to look for when it came to gangs in schools. I would do block captains in neighborhoods. I would go to City Hall and the block captains would come in and I would kind of give them a gang presentation on what to look for in their neighborhoods. I've done grading EMS. Whenever they go to calls, they like to know what they're getting into when they're dealing with victims, whether they're gang members or whether there's going to be like retaliation while they're trying to triage a patient or whatever. I've done the military. I've done Atlanta Fire Department. They also want classes about gangs because they're EMTs as well. They have to do first, they're first responders, so they like to know what they're looking for as well. Fire cadets. It's a list of different, groups that I've talked to about gangs.
And if you could tell the jury about, I think you said you had about over 1,000 hours of... Maybe
close to 1,000 hours. It's over 100. I know it's hundreds of hours. Again, I can't tell you exactly. I did probably submit my training from, like at my daughter maybe, but it's hundreds of hours of gang training.
Give just a synopsis of some of the courses that you take as a part of that 100 hours of training, over hundreds of hours of training.
Well, I started out, when I first started the gang unit, I had no idea about gangs, even though I grew up here in the city of Atlanta where we really didn't have gangs, I say. But I started out in California. I went to California, did some gang training. It was mostly like gang awareness.
So I need you to slow down for me just a little.
I'm sorry.
Slow down. Okay.
Gang awareness, gang identification, interviews and interrogations of gang members, courtroom testimony, training. So anything that was pretty much dealing with gangs, I have been trained or either have trained people.
Outside of formal training, have you had the occasion to, in your personal experience as a investigator, speak with, interview individuals who identify as part of gangs?
Yes, pretty much my whole career as a gang investigator, I've done that.
And you talked about in some of your trainings, talking about the national gang trends. Are those some of the topics that you learned as part of your gang training?
Yes.
Have you had the occasion to study gang trends here in Georgia?
Yes.
Over your 14 years working in the gang unit at APD, can you provide an estimate of how many gangs you have investigated?
Whenever I started the gang unit, we had a bunch of hybrids, like non-traditional gangs. So counting those, it was over 100.
And over the course of 14 years, how many times have you come in contact with individuals who identify as gang members or who were identified as gang members?
I would come in contact with them daily because that was a part of my, I guess, duties as a gang investigator. But like I said, I did work for the Atlanta public school system where I came in contact with them there as well.
Can you even give a number of approximately how many gang members you have investigated or interviewed?
Over the years, I would say hundreds.
And as a gang investigator, did you have your own caseload?
I did. I have had caseloads, but what I did like about working in the gang unit that we did joint investigations. So most of our larger investigations are either, like the smash and grab burglaries or robberies or whatever, we would work as a team or as a group on cases.
Have you ever been a part of sharing information and intelligence with law enforcement, other law enforcement agencies?
Yes, we actually, like I said, the GGIA meetings, we meet with other agencies from all over the state of Georgia. I've gone to Cobb and assisted on cases, Clayton, I've testified in DeKalb to assist them. So yes, we do information sharing. I actually have a meeting next week with the Atlanta Public Schools and all the other schools in the metro. We get together and share information about gang trends.
And do you stay current on gang trends, including rivalries, alliances, customs, and habits?
Yes.
In the experience and training that you've just described, have you developed a familiarity with criminal street gangs, their activities, customs, and behaviors, both across the United States and Georgia?
Yes.
Have you received any training on how gangs use music to promote allegiances within their gang?
Yes.
I'd like to object. There's been no downward finding on that. I'll object to that. Question.
That's overruled at this point.
Have you received any training on how gangs use music to promote violence?
Yes.
What about how gangs use music to promote fear in other gangs?
Yes.
What about how gangs use music to promote cohesiveness within their gang?
Yes.
And what about how gang members use music to send messages to rival gangs?
Yes.
Have you ever been qualified as a gang expert here in the state of Georgia?
Yes, in Fulton County Superior in federal court, because I left out the part about me being a task force officer for 6 years while I was doing my time at the gang unit from 2013 to 2020. Federal court, DeKalb County Superior Court.
And you said you were a federal task officer for what agency?
For ATF.
And what were some of your responsibilities as an ATF task officer when you were assigned to that unit?
My responsibilities over there was to mainly focus on the VROs, the violent repeat offenders, who, when I went over there, I really didn't want to go over there, but when I went over there, I was told by my superiors that I could still work gang. I had been in gangs and I wanted to do gangs, so when I went to ATF, I was told that I can actually focus on the violent gang members. So when I was at ATF, that's what I did. All of my suspects that I came across were violent repeat offender that were actually gang members. We kept up with NIBIN, where I actually went to training to learn about NIBIN and how we were able to match crime scenes with just the casings or firearms that we recovered. The caseloads that we did get were kind of like adopted cases from the police departments around the metro that we worked.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender Investigator Kim Underwood as an expert in criminal street gangs and criminal gang activity.
You may, yes. Mm-hmm.